Hello everyone and welcome back to the Kukuli Bushcraft channel. Okay, so yeah, very unglamorous surroundings today. It's not like last winter when I could film in the cabins because they're in use with the clients now. But I just thought I'd go over with you my little sharpening kit. So this is basically a side pouch off one of those cheap Chinese Molly pouches, which I've added a couple of clips to because basically those press studs weren't up to much. Apart from that, the rucksack was quite good. I think it was Molly's who ate it in the end. One of the issues with being constantly surrounded by dogs. Okay, so we're going to go over the contents of this pouch. So first thing, this is just a cheap diamond file from B&Q DIY store in the UK. Not a very good place for buying things like this. They've always got a great selection of power tools, but when it comes to things like this, this is about the finest one that they had. And this is really coarse. So if I have any chipping, then or any serious issues, then I'll use that first. And I could, as I've seen some videos recently from SAK Tricks and EDC Tips, that he's got a sharpening stone that he's put a piece of leather on the back. I could also glue a piece of wet and dry for another sharpening surface. It's a good idea. It's the kind of thing that I never seem to get round to doing. But I've got that. Okay, I'll actually empty the contents out. Okay, so this is what I use for most of my sharpening. This is Wästikivi and they call it the knife's bride. So it's actually quite a good little stone. Finnish company. So you've got a groove there for sharpening fishing hooks. You've also got a rounded section on this side. So let's pretend this has got a recurve. If you've got something with a recurve, then that's great. And also you've got like different shapes at the end, which I'd imagine would be quite good for carving, turning tools. A V tool basically. You could like knock the burr off from the inside, because that's actually quite hard to find something to do that with. And yeah, so square on that side, rounded on that side, and a little bit of a funny kind of shape at either end, which could be used maybe for, I don't know, rubbing or scraping. Actually, what I was saying about a V tool, it doesn't quite come to a point there, so it wouldn't be 100% ideal for that. But yeah, one issue you have quite often with sharpening chisels is finding something to knock off the burr from the inside, because the grind is generally on the outside, and because you've got a strange shape, like I'm using V-tool for an example, it's the same with a gouge. To knock the burr off the inside edge, it's quite hard to find anything. So I've got that in there. It's a nice little stone. I'll put a link to their website. I've also got here an axe hook made by the same company. So I'm not going to talk about that too much because it's actually fairly new and I've not used it all that much, but yeah, it seems to work fine. Right. I've also got random odds and ends that shouldn't be in there. Ferro rod. It's always good to have a ferro rod with a bit of gorilla tape around the top. I tend to have one of these in every little pouch and kit that I've got. A couple of bone rings. Yeah, quite handy for key rings attaching to things, but yeah, not sure what they're doing in that kit. I've also got a little Opinel. Is it Opinel? Yeah, it's an Opinel sharpening stone. So quite similar to this one, maybe a tiny bit finer, but I don't tend to use this very much. I tend to favour this one. And then the Strop. So ordinary leather strop, just got leather on one side. This was made by my mate Simon from Simon Outdoors, who kindly gave it to me. And as a honing compound, as a stropping compound, I generally use auto saw because it's multi-purpose. I also use it, I'm using it at the moment for an acrylic knife handle to polish that up. And it's multi-purpose, it's readily available all over the place. It's also good for taking any surface rust off your blades. So yeah, that's stropping compound, blade polish. Use it on handles sometimes, particularly new ones, acrylic ones. Yeah, useful stuff. So I've also got a Sharpie. You could use that for colouring in the bevel of your knife, so as you know that you're taking off metal from the right place, basically. I don't tend to do that, but yeah, it's quite a handy thing to have in a random kit, just in case. Right, I've also got a little Mora diamond file. So again, it's round, so quite good for a recurve blade or something along those lines. Again, something I don't usually use very often. And as if I'm going out for a while, I probably just take like one stone and a strop, or just take maybe that in my pocket, as if I'm away in the forest for a while. That's pretty much all I'm really gonna need. Also in here, and this is, I've got another little ferro rod. Also in here I've got a little mini tape measure, and attached to it I've got this little thing. So apart from opening beer bottles, which is very handy, it's also good for finding angles. So you can find the angle of the primary bevel of your knife, which you don't really need that for hand sharpening. It's more to do with my videos, so if I'm doing a review I can get some kind of an idea of, let's see what we got here. So this is something like 24 degrees. So the angle of the two bevels on either side. So yeah, and that obviously affects the edge geometry and the cutting performance, because people talk about height of grinds quite a lot, but also there's the thickness and the angle, and you've got to take all three things into account. So if you've got a high grind on a thin blade, it's very different to a high grind on a thick blade. Very different angle. So now this is just an old work knife, Lindblom Knivar. It's a cheap alternative to Mora, even cheaper than a Mora. Not as good as a Mora. I'll do a video at some point about these cheap knives that you get everywhere in the Nordic countries. Really, I think there's two brands you can trust, Hultersfors and Mora. Okay, cold steel Finbar. This is fairly sharp, but it's not quite shaving sharp. So I'll just put a little bit more of an edge on this. What I'll quite often do is I'll quite often do little circles like this, but it does depend also on the size of my stone. And with this being a little bit, just about long enough to cover the whole blade, one important thing is to try and use the entire length of the stone, because otherwise it's going to wear away in just one point. And one of the downsides of this little stone is, you know, I mean, sometimes you can put a little notch in a log and set your stone in, and with it being not square on the ends, you can't really do that. Then you can use it like you would an oil stone in a workbench. Okay, so just a couple of passes, not much. And like I say, it's not really dull. It's just not quite at the point where I can take hairs off my leg. So 10. Let's go down to 5. 1. And I have got other videos on sharpening. I've actually got a playlist if anyone wants to check that out. Maybe put a link to that in the description as well. Right, let's see. There we go. Okay, it's not shaving easily. Oh, it's quite. Yeah, that's really not bad. That's really not bad. Right. You can tell when my knives are sharp because I've got no hairs on my legs. Yeah, I mean, that's one of my preferred methods of checking how sharp my knives are, is to shave my legs a little bit, so as if I can find hair on them. My legs are quite hairy at the moment because yeah, we've got winter season here and quite a lot of work, so not very much time to sharpen my knives. And this poor thing that I'm using at work every day, this is getting absolutely hammered. Yeah, but that's definitely not going to be shaving sharp. No, it's sharp enough to cut rope and to cut wood. That's all that matters. It's just a work knife. That's all I've got for you today. So I'll just show you the view from outside the window. Hey. Plenty of snow now. Really getting quite cold as well. It was, I think it was minus 36, minus 37 degrees C yesterday. Managed to freeze up my face a little bit on the snowmobile, which isn't great. But it's come back now, nothing black. Yeah, so getting quite chilly. So I can't film outdoors in those temperatures because, you know, anything electrical just dies immediately, as if it's I mean, I still use my phone briefly, but it's buried, and as soon as it's out for any amount of time, just well, thanks for watching, everyone. Please give us a thumbs up, and I'll see you all again soon for another Googly Bushcraft video. Bye for now.